Alright, so we're going to do a demo on how to skin, flesh, and hoop a beaver. This is obviously an extremely small beaver, so the difficulty level on this is going to be a lot easier than, you know, a 50 or 60 or 70 plus inch beaver. But this is what we had this morning, so this is what we've got to show. So you start off, what we found is the best way is to go ahead and remove all the feet. We just have a hefty pair of hedge trimmers here. So we'll just buzz off all the feet. Once you get them clipped, you just come back with your knife. Just come on both sides, pop them off. Helps if you've got a good sharp knife. Let me get my other knife, if I can find it. Once you get done with that, there's a lot of bones in there, so before I get started, I'll normally just touch up my knife. And then you split them right down the middle. So I start at the bottom lip, get it cut. You want a knife that's got a good tip on it for this. Some people use a zipper, I don't, but it probably is easier if you do use one. Every zipper I've ever used just is really bad about getting clogged up with hair, so I just don't fool with it. Another thing you've got to watch whenever you're coming down the middle is the castor glands. I'm not extremely worried about it on this one because he's so small, he's not going to hardly have any castor. But you don't want to pop those glands when you're coming down. And I'm already here, so I'll just go ahead and kind of open that up a little bit. All the way down the middle. And I'm right-handed, so it's a lot easier for me to go from right to left than it is left to right. This beaver's also cold. It was drowned whenever we got there, so he's not going to open up nearly as easy as a warmer beaver would. So once I do that, I'll flip him around, do the same thing. Just kind of start to open him up a little bit. Want to be real careful, make sure that you're following that line so you don't pop a hole in the hide. I'll come down to the base of the tail and I'll kind of work the hair up, so I'm not cutting hair, I just want to cut hide. So I'll work it up, come across like that, open it up, come straight up and beside of the ovipositor, come around it on both sides, get that cut away. And you don't want to cut the oil sacs either because it makes a big mess, so you just work your way around those oil sacs. Do it the same way on both sides. Alright, once we've got it opened up and started, I'll bring it sideways. Start on the front legs, just kind of working that back and over. Working it down its side. Do the same with the back leg. Follow it down. Going down and up underneath the hock. Come back up here. Make sure I got his face good and started. Work that leg up. Work that hair back. Come right down his leg and around his neck. Down here to his leg. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a beaver had this much fat on it. take, flip it over on its back. Come around, make sure you've got a good long knife with a good point. Come right there on the base of his tail. Find a good soft spot to work it through. And then all the way through the back of the tail. Just like that. And then you just pop it right out the back. And you just work your way up and around the legs. And I don't clean skin because it's a lot easier to remove meat and fat off on the fleshing beam than it is to fix a hole that you put in a hide. So I don't worry about that meat that I'm leaving on there. You've got to go to the fleshing beam regardless, so you might as well just take the time and know that you're going to have a decent hide. Working back up and around that tail. Do the same thing I just did on that side to this side.
You already got the casters out of that?
Yeah, they were just really small. Yeah, this one I got them out. They were really small.
Right.
I've got them hanging up right there.
Oh.
Once you get it up there past these legs, you couldn't do it. I'm getting ready to do it in a big beaver, but on a small beaver, you don't even have to put it on the floor. But we'll take it, get it started, get that meat, trim that meat off of the hide. Make sure that whenever you come down to his vertebrae, you do not.
Show them how you do it on the floor. That way, if they catch a big beaver, they'll know how to do it.
It's the same concept regardless. You put him on the ground, stick your foot on his tail, grab a hold of both of his leg openings, rip it all the way up to his neck. You just saved yourself an extra 10 minutes of skinning. You come up over his shoulders. You know that? You said, I don't think I did cut this one's castor out, so I can get that too. Because that castor came out of the one we fixed for them to eat. Not this one.
Beaver meat's good. Tastes good.
Beaver meat is good.
As long as you don't nick the castor.
Yeah, then it just all tastes like castor. Some people like the way castor tastes, but we don't, because we don't think about it as food. Or at least I can say I don't think it tastes good. Now this is one of the more common places to mess up is around the face, but you don't need to worry about it, because unless you're selling fur to someone who's an idiot, then anyone knows that the face doesn't matter, unless you just completely jack it up. So a little nick in the face isn't the end of the world, but you know, take your time. We're cut around his ears, we're working down to his eyes. Another thing that's really nice, if you've got a big beaver and you're working off of a tall enough of a table, you can let the hide drape off the table like I am, and the weight of the hide will help you get to where you want to be with your knife. Just keep on working down, get your gut around his eye. Getting down around his nose. That's it. We'll go ahead and remove the castor now. This is not a good demonstration because these castors are very, very small, but it's the same concept regardless.
What's a castor bringing right now, Austin?
It's only worth, I think #1 castors are worth like $50 a pound.
So in 2003, 2024, we're thinking castor's worth $50 or $60 a pound?
Yeah, it's not worth, but just 2 or 3 years ago, you know, it was worth $120 a pound. But so we'll come down here right where the castor and the oil sacs meet the base of the torso. We'll come up because you don't want to nick the castor, and we'll cut right up here to open all that up. Now, castor is very easy to rip. So I'm going to take my fingers, I'm going to work this back. See, it's already got a small hole in it, but it's not the end of the world because we're not selling this castor. If you're selling it, it matters a little bit more. But if you're selling it to someone who's making it out of lure, it does not matter. Do not let them lie to you. So we're going to work this out. That red stuff right there is membrane. That gray stuff right there is castor. If you have a big beaver, it's going to look a lot different than that. But these castors are extremely small because this is a young beaver. So we're just going to work all that membrane off of there. You don't want to leave that on there. There's one castor, extremely small, but that's what it is. We're going to come over to this other side. This castor looks like this side of the castor is a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to take my knife and just kind of work that membrane off of there. Take my fingers and peel the rest of it off. And whenever you're doing castor, it's a lot like doing rats. It's 10% knife work, 90% hand work. Because if you use a knife, you're going to put a hole in it, unless you're just really, really good at it. So we've got that membrane removed off of the back. I can work my thumb up underneath of it, peel it away from the meat. Remembering to take my time, because if you get in a rush, you're going to rip it in half. There's a castor, it's got a little bit of meat on the front end. We'll just peel that off. And that's it. Now these, on the back end of the castors, are oil sacks. They are not worth very much at all, but some people do buy them. Or if you make your own lure, some people do put the oil sacks with the castor. We do not. But if you do know someone that buys them, it's worth saving them. We save them, but we don't do much with them. So now that we've got the castors peeled away from the membrane and the oil sacks, we're going to come down here to the base, and we're just going to work that off, just like that. Now that's a very, very small castor, but you know, it's important to know how to do that, because depending on what the state of the market, castors are actually typically worth more than the hide is. So it's good to be able to put them up. So after you get your castor, you need to find somewhere to hang it for 2 to 3 days, depending on what your relative humidity is in your area. It's different for us. We just know how to check them. But we come down after 2 days, and if they're good, we throw them in the freezer. If not, we'll come down the next day and throw them in the freezer. But that's how you skin a beaver. On the next part of the video or the next episode, we'll be showing you how to flesh a beaver.